I have wept and I have fallen. Don't you worry about me. 'Cause I stood up, yes, I have grown. The pain has set me free. And like a broken record in my head.
Welcome back to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
I get enough of you. Bright sneakers on, getting ready for a flashback. Time keeps moving on, looking at you, feeling like I could never, like I could never get enough of you, and I could never get enough of you. I could never get enough of you.
No, get them all off me. Say that for L, she a cause, you see. 4 cars deep, we'll come through on a late night. Chicken spot, wings and fries, we call that a day night. Lights on, so out, I don't have no stage right. Knew that I was built for this forever, ever, ever.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
We ride bands, 10 times 10, all my friends, this for real.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. So listen responsibly.
It's the best of the best. It's the one and only DJ Ice, Louisville's coldest DJ.
What we have here is a failure to communicate. Good evening. This is Carl Price. This is Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television and Conscious Fever Radio. Thanks for joining me tonight here in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, my city behind me here. It's been a while, just a couple of weeks, but I'm back. We're going to talk about, actually we're going to sound off tonight, if y'all would allow us. My guest tonight is John Yah, right here in Louisville from the South Preston podcast, as well as the Tipping Point Morning Show that airs on WLOU every weekend, every Saturday morning, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then after that, him and his co-host, they go on Facebook, the Tipping Point page, and just rant. I should join him. Anyway, he's my guest tonight. We're sounding off tonight about Kyle Rittenhouse, that verdict, and the verdict that had to take place, or the trial that had to take place because of the killing of Ahmaud Arbery. And we're going to talk about that tonight. Thanks for joining me. Remember, you can join us on all the platforms. You see that running below me, all the platforms, if you wish. We prefer YouTube, but if you want to join us on Facebook, that's fine too. You can always comment. You can comment tonight if you want to comment about what we're talking about tonight, because I know everybody has an opinion about it, still has opinions about it. And this is now a week out for both of these trials. So let's talk about this tonight. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you're getting ready for the Christmas holiday. And I hope you're staying safe out there. My guest and I probably will make a comment about a couple of things, particularly the murders in this city, as opposed to the murder the murders in Wisconsin and the murderers in the state of Georgia. So, without further ado, because I don't want to be here all night, and I'm sure y'all don't want to stay up all night listening to me. But one of the things that I do want to talk about tonight, I want to give some congratulations to this young lady here, Ellie Smith. She wins the Miss USA. She is Miss Kentucky, but she's also now Miss USA. She's only the third black woman in a row. Notice I said that, only the third black woman in a row to take the crown. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe my guest can churn in at some point and tell me the third black woman in a row to win Miss USA. Now, historically now, the crown is sort of, everything has had a little racial curve here in the United States for a long, long time, including the Miss USA pageant and the Miss America pageant, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe my guest will comment about that once he comes on. But in any case, again, if you want to comment tonight, just put your comments down there. We'll post them. We'll talk about them. Might criticize you, might laugh at you, or might just join along and just sing along with you, whatever it is you decide to do tonight. But again, I just wanted to say congratulations to this University of Kentucky graduate. That's probably the only mistake that she's ever made in her life, is graduating from the University of Kentucky. And I don't know if y'all saw the pageant, but during the pageant, one of her outfits, she came out basically promoting the Kentucky Derby. She had roses around her, and she had a blue and white jockey suit on, and said that she chose the blue and white because she had graduated from the University of Kentucky. Only mistake Ellie Smith made. But if she looks familiar to y'all, I'm going to put her picture back up there, but if she looks familiar to y'all, especially those of you who are right here in Louisville, she probably looks familiar because she is actually a broadcast journalist at WHAS TV, where I am a legal analyst. So congratulations, Ellie Smith, and I hope you win Miss Universe. I know there was a poll online about whether she would, whether she could win Miss Universe. I think she can. So good luck to you. Listen, let's get this show started. Again, my guest tonight is John Ya, and John's going to join me here shortly. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to be sounding off about the Rittenhouse and the Arbery verdict. So listen, let's talk about Rittenhouse first. We don't know. We clearly don't know exactly what the jury's reasoning was in rendering this verdict. Jury deliberations happened in secret, so unless jurors choose to discuss the experience afterward, we will not get a view into how they made their decisions or what pieces of evidence were most compelling to them. But it appears in the Rittenhouse case that with evidence supporting both narratives, the jurors concluded that the prosecution failed to meet its burden. And based on this second, actually based on the record, it's impossible to find fault with that. The issue is this: whether a defendant acted reasonably in a stressful moment. That is a quintessential jury question. This is exactly why we have a jury system where 12 members of the community come together to judge their fellow man. We, as a democracy, prefer the law to be administered by a group of ordinary individuals who rely on common sense and everyday experiences to reach a collective decision, right? Without question, Rittenhouse did not have to be in Kenosha with his weapon strapped across his body as he ran around the streets in what was clearly an unpredictable and ultimately dangerous situation. If he had exercised better judgment and decided not to go that night, Rosenbaum and Huber would almost certainly still be alive. But in Wisconsin, that initial decision, as poor a decision as it was, does not really constitute a crime. And the jury found his later actions, unfortunately, justified. Those of us who don't want to have to worry about whether people like Kyle Rittenhouse will continue to brandish guns at public gatherings, thereby, of course, greatly increasing the danger of violence, should direct our energy toward changing the open carry laws, particularly in the state of Wisconsin and a lot of other states, like right here in Kentucky. Public sentiment after an episode that is viewed as unfair And there are plenty of people who are incensed that Rittenhouse went free because of a self-defense claim when he placed himself in the situation in the first place can spark change. For example, in Georgia, after the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery, the legislature repealed the citizen's arrest law that Arbery's alleged killer and his co-defendants were relying on for their defense, although the defendants in Arbery killing can still assert that claim, even though the law has been repealed. If public concern about Rittenhouse conduct and its results leads to a re-examination of Wisconsin's gun laws, that would be one positive thing to come out of this tragic episode. And that is a partial opinion by Jennifer Rogers. She posted that on CNN Online. But let's talk about Arbery, because we're going to talk about that tonight. John and I are going to sound off about that as well. The first feeling is relief, right? Last week in Brunswick, Georgia, 3 white men, Gregory McMichael, his son Travis McMichael, and their neighbor, William Bryan, were found guilty of felony murder in the death of Ahmaud Arbery. Y'all know that. And one doesn't feel joy, nor even vindication. Nope, only relief. Justice, which for some of us has always proven elusive, fickle, and unreliable, choose to make an appearance this time. You can't understand how that feels if you don't understand how often it has chosen otherwise. Consider what happened in August of 1930 in Marion, Indiana, when a white mob broke into the jailhouse and lynched 2 African-American men. The killers posed for a picture with their grisly handiwork. But no one was ever charged, much less convicted of that crime. Despite photographic evidence to the contrary, it was attributed to quote-unquote persons unknown. Or consider this one. In August of 1955 in Money, Mississippi, 2 white men murdered a 14-year-old African-American boy, and in court, they freely admitted kidnapping him and were even placed by a witness at a barn where he was tortured. Yet the jury deliberated just over an hour before returning an acquittal. One juror said it wouldn't have taken so long, but they stopped to drink pop. A new day or just an anomaly? These stories are not aberrations, but an unholy norm, repeated 1,000 times and 1,000 times in our history. So yes, relief. The 3 white men who last year stalked and killed Arbery, a 25-year-old African-American jogger, for the crime, quote-unquote, of running through their neighborhood and not stopping when they demanded he do so, were convicted on charges that could put them away for life, perhaps even without parole. And if you feel that thing you feel when tension is released and you sign and you sag, and you sigh and you sag a little, realizing all at once that tension was the only thing holding you up. The conviction came despite appeals by defense counsel to the racial fears of an almost completely white jury. That includes Laura Hogue's instantly infamous characterization of Arbery wearing khaki shorts with no socks to cover his long, dirty toenails. In other words, he was a rhymes with trigger who deserved what he got. To their credit, jurors rejected this naked appeal to their beset selves. One hopes that those white people who think themselves inherently entitled to stop black people on the street and demand they justify their presence will now check themselves and correct themselves. And we're talking to the Karens of the world. One hopes they will question this high-handed assumption of theirs that random white people have some divine right to police random black people, and black people some moral obligation to, quietly accept it. This verdict allows for that hope, if not quite for the expectation. One is relieved to have even that much. It's a bitter experience here, but that word is problematic, isn't it? The sense of relief is reflective of bitter experience and hard history, of seeing Trayvon betrayed, Tamir betrayed, Philandro betrayed, Emmett betrayed, of learning thereby not to expect too much in the way of fairness or be treated as if your life and pain matter. And it is reflective of knowing how easily it could have gone the other way. The jurors agreeing that because the man's toenails were unkempt, he deserved to die. That knowing, that constant knowing, is exhausting. And it is the distance between this country and the ideals it engraves upon marble edifices. Because in America, justice should not have to be a relief. In America, justice should be an expectation. The credit to this partial opinion is for Leonard Pitts from the Detroit Free Press. We're going to come right back, and we're going to be joined by John Yah. I'm going to take a couple of breaks here, and then when we come back, John Yah is going to join me, and we're going to just sound off about the Rittenhouse and the verdict for the McMichaels and the justice for Arbery. Carl Price, this is Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television and Conscious Fever Radio. We'll be right back.
This is Carlos RTG Dixon, and you're watching Conscious Fever.
Hit the camera, son. You know what I'm
saying?
Oh,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Get freaky
with
it. You know what I'm saying? Get freaky. Let them know it's the champion talking to you. All right. 3.
You want me to say at the end of that? So you like, this is Carlos RTG Dixon, and then, just be like,
Yeah. Okay. You got it. He's a natural. 3, 2.
This is Carlos RTG Dixon, WBC champ. You here with me.
Got the Conscious Fever.
I didn't know if you want me to say that part. I'm like, what you want me to say next?
Oh, my man. With me. Yeah.
Just start jumping.
This right here. Better watch Conscious Fever, or my next fight is with you or something.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to say that again. I'm going to say this is Carlos RTG Dixon, WBC champ, and I'm here at 97 to beat Conscious Fever.
No, not 97.
Not 97?
Just Conscious Fever.
Just Conscious Fever.
They don't pay us enough.
Oh, I like that. Okay. All right, just Conscious Fever. Tune in. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2.
I'm Carlos RTD Dixon, WBC champ. Tune in live. Conscious Fever. And if you're not in this Conscious Fever audience, then you're living your life unconscious. Tune in.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
All right, welcome back to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host. Thanks for joining us tonight. We are going to sound off tonight. We're going to sound off about the Rittenhouse and the Arbery verdicts. I just like to hear opinions, and I like this man's opinion. I actually thought I was playing something that I thought was really, really cool, but I was mistaken, and I'm going to ask my guest about it when he comes on, but that was just something that that I just thought about. But anyway, my guest tonight is John Yah. Mr. Yah, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I thank you for joining me. I always got to make some adjustments here. I don't want to make too many. I tell you what, let me just go back where I was and just make a little bit of adjustment right here. You doing okay, man?
I'm super, man. How about yourself?
I'm good. I got this turtleneck on because it's a little nippy up here. But it's in Louisville, right? It's in December. Could be hot, could be cold. Who knows? But anyway, let's talk about, man, sounding off on Rittenhouse and the Arbery verdicts. Let me have your initial thoughts on either verdict.
Well, let's start by saying this. You laid out a lot listening to you. And so the question becomes, what is justice? And so justice is based upon two things, based upon what side it 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 revealed itself on. In other words, there's one family would be saying justice work and another family saying justice don't work. The question becomes that when you make those comparison, you're talking the whole dynamics of layers of things. You're talking about the people, the jurors. You're talking about the prosecutor. What type of lawyers were they? What type of judge play a role? Let's take, for instance, the Rittenhouse case. In the Rittenhouse case, you can tell the judge was already in the favor of the defendant. You see, you won't find it in you don't hardly ever find that type of judge behaving that way towards the defendant. Usually he's trying to play a neutral role, right? But you could tell that that young man was going to be found not guilty, and rightfully so, after they removed the charges of the carrying and concealed deadly weapon by a minor. Once they removed that, surely he should have been found not guilty based upon the evidence that was displayed. You see, so a lot of time when you say that, when we say justice, then are we talking about when it's in our favor? When it's not in our favor, we call it not justice. If the process wasn't proven, it makes sense.
It does.
Let's say for instance, if the Arbery case, those guys was found not guilty through the court, is that not justice? As due process, right?
Right.
So how does it? Then therefore it must be based upon who's sitting at the bench, who the jurors were chosen, not based upon whether justice was right or wrong.
So what you're saying is that even though people are upset about Rittenhouse being found not guilty, that in some eyes that was fairness, and that was justice.
I paid close attention to that trial, and I would have voted for him. I would have voted in the favor of an acquittal based upon they removed that one charge of him carrying a weapon because he was a minor. They removed that. What was left?
Right. What was left? And actually,
him running from someone and someone trying to take the gun from him.
Right. I'm gonna just so the record is straight. Even as a former prosecutor, I think he should have been convicted.
Okay.
I think he murdered those individuals. I think he should have been convicted. I believe that there was enough room and enough evidence there to maybe claim self-defense on one of those victims, right? But not both of them. Now, but I also believe that the prosecution did a horrible job. I really do. And it's really difficult sometimes to set where we're sitting and judge the prosecution because first and foremost, when you have a judge that says you can't call two dead people who are dead as a result of an admitted act of this particular defendant, can't call them victims, you probably got a hill to climb, right?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question. What evidence was presented that you saw actually for the guilt? Was it the fact that I heard you mention something about him mentioning what he was going to do when he was headed towards the riot?
Well, let me just say this.
Because I heard the intention part brought up, which was actually a piece that was removed from trial, which means that they weren't allowed for the testimony of him admitting why he was going down, nor admitting earlier that he was going to go down, and whether he said he was going to shoot some people or stop people from breaking in.
Right. Well, here's part of the problem, John, and this is where I think there might be a small loophole in the law. I don't think the law should allow anyone who puts themselves in a situation to claim self-defense and then claim it. Now, I know that sounds bad, but let me explain it. he put himself in a position for ordinary individuals, even those that are not violent, even those who were not violent that particular night, to come up and say, hey, listen, what are you doing? Put that down. You're pointing the gun at people, etc., etc. And then when people do that, all of a sudden you say, well, I'm going to shoot and I'm going to kill you, and I believe it's self-defense. Now, I will tell you this, that I remember seeing part of a video, and that video is where he, and I don't know, I think we have some of that. Let's just get to that screen. I remember just seeing one of those videos where he was, he was really, it looked as if he was really being attacked, right? And because he was being attacked, all day, every day, that's self-defense. But I have a problem when people put themselves in a position and say, oh, I was trying to pull, I was just simply defending myself. Now, I say that with one caveat, and the caveat is this, John, and that is that individuals, well, first of all, let me just say this. I find it problematic for me to point a gun at you, and then when you shoot me, I say, oh, no, you point a gun at me, and I point a gun at you. When you pull your gun on me, then all of a sudden I shoot you. I think it's something inherently wrong with me being able to claim self-defense. Now, that just may be a loophole in the law, but that's just my position. But to answer your question, one of the videos I saw, several things bothered me about what I saw in the video, and this is why I thought it was murder. First of all, it's okay for this nutcase to cry on the stand, John. But my problem with that is that you shot somebody. That person, there's video where this person, you look at these videos now, there's video where this person is laying on the ground. And this kid never walked back to give him any first aid or anything. To me, that would be consistent with someone then taking the stand and crying and saying, oh my God, I did something that I'd never intended to do, etc., etc. That was not the case. What I saw in that video was a cold-blooded murder. I mean, just period. I'm just gonna put it out there. What I saw was a cold-blooded murder. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, this is what's interesting, and you was just playing some of the video there. Now, this is where, to me, as I would say that the justice system works like bleach. It works well with whites, but it'll fuck colors up. Now, here's what's...
Leave it up. Hold on, John. Leave it up to you to come up with... Okay, go ahead.
But here's the thing.
Justice, hold on. Let me repeat that. Justice system works like bleach. It works better on whites.
It works well with whites.
Works well with white. Okay.
It'll fuck colors up. Yeah. So here's the thing, Carl. Okay, so you see, what that young man did was stupid and naive, but he was going down to protect someone's property. They didn't play this in the media part, that he was going to actually to protect two Pakistani properties.
Unsolicited, right?
Yes. Okay. So now he's down there to do that. I'm not sure if that was or not, but he's down there to do that. Now, here's the thing. It's a hostile situation. What is he, 17 years old? You really don't know the conditions until you get down there what's going to happen. Now, what I see is a young man who was frightened, right? Who was scared. Now, you saw the issue where he was laying on the ground. He's shooting someone trying to take the gun from him. He's running. The problem is that if that was someone black, surely the same jurors would have found him guilty. I'm sure of that, right? Because the judge himself wouldn't have been so pro-defense. And this is why he was found not guilty. What I'm saying is, looking at that, then justice must work. It works well for them. The point is that it doesn't work like that for us.
How about that? Hold on, let me say. How about that video? How about that? Did you buy that emotion?
Listen, I would say this. A person who have been on trial before multiple times, and you are facing your life being taken from you, yeah, you have to be there to understand how that works. It was like at the end when the jurors found him not guilty, he broke down crime. People say that was fake. No, I don't think that was fake. If you never been facing the rest of your life going to prison, you can't make that up. That emotion that bottles up in you. So no, being on stand is it's nothing easy. So he's a young 17-year-old. What do you expect, right?
Right. Do you
But we
think the
don't.
judge? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think we're not looking at that from that point of view. But again, here's another issue. Issues. Why were black people upset? That blows my mind. Why were black people concerned about it at all? At that point, it was 3 white people that he shot. It was like white on white crime, wasn't it? So why was black people upset? Because it was at a black rally in March. I don't get it.
Well, I'm going to take the high road here, and I'm going to say that I think black people are upset because 2 other human beings were killed. And the fact that they were not black, I'm not sure if that means that if you're black, you're disqualified for.
In the hood every day, I don't see nobody making any noise. We make more noise about them killing 2 white boys than we do, and we're killing each other every day. I'm just so confused.
Well, now that's a fact. I mean, we don't come downtown in March when there's an excessive amount of black on black crime. But I'm just making the point that when 2 human beings are dead, I think everybody should be upset when the person that did it is not being truly held accountable. But to answer your question,
you act like the 2 people who were dead were innocent, and you act like they were not innocent. They were.
I thought they were.
No, there was one.
Well, except for the one that
the bald head guy. I forgot his name. The one that just got out of a mental hospital and refused to take his medicine, according to the court records.
Yeah, but John, but here's the problem. Are we really okay living in a society where a 17-year-old who we expect not to have a firearm, we have an open carry law here in Kentucky, but you got to be 21, right? So you have are we as a society, are we really okay with the 17-year-old arming himself with a rifle that is only designed to kill during war? It's not a hunting rifle, as a lot of people would like to contend. He leaves his comfortable home. He goes to another state. He puts himself in a volatile situation to agitate. He agitates, he kills 2 people, and he walks free. To me, there is something inherently wrong with our justice system if that is okay. And now we see in Michigan, we've got a 15-year-old boy who went to the school. Now, school shootings are sort of like the norm. It's kind of like turning on your weekly game or your daily soap opera or something. But who's to say that 15-year-old, especially when his parents immediately lawyered up, right? Immediately say he's not talking to anybody. He's gotten a lawyer. Talk to his lawyer, and he has a right to do that. I'm not saying that he didn't have a right to do that, but that rubs me the wrong way. Who's to say that 15-year-old has not said to himself, well, if Rittenhouse can do it, I can do it? Is that really the society we want to be in? That's the problem that I have with it, hands down.
Yeah, like I said, again, the whole scene was chaotic, both sides, very chaotic. You had people rioting. You're talking a whole atmosphere of vibration of insanity. So it's chaotic scene. Shouldn't have been there in the first place. I agree with that.
Yeah, but why would you go to that? Why would you go to a venue like that? If I knew that at the next rap concert that everybody's got a gun and there's going to be this big gun fight, I'd be damned if I'm going to go home and get my rifle and go and be right in the middle of it.
And I'm sure the ones that are deceased, if you was to ask them the same question, they would say, hell no, I ain't going down there. Right? Because they're in a chaotic scene. What the fuck, right?
Well, the scene was not as chaotic, I think, as a lot. I think it, well.
Oh, yeah, riots are chaotic as fuck. Yes,
you said what?
Riots are chaotic as fuck.
Well, but I'm not sure if that was, well, we can agree to disagree. I'm not sure if I would call all of that a riot. I think it did. after Rittenhouse showed up. And I've seen the footage, John. So you and I have seen the same footage. So what I'm saying is that it was a little out of control. It was so out of the control. The police were in tanks and just refused to. They refused to even get out of the tank and take his gun. Right.
Well, Carl, that described the chaotics. That's why officers was called to that area, and tanks was down there. No, it was a chaotic scene. Riot. It was a riot that was chaotic. When you're starting to tear up private people's property, that's a chaotic ass scene, and that's people just wanting to just be destructive and vandalize. I think you have to be in a chaotic mindset to want to do that, and so everything is chaos. If you're down there, there is no peace. It's everybody's kind of involved into the same thing. It's very interesting when we discuss it, but again, I think from both sides, I don't think that young man will go down there ever again. And I'm sure the ones that's deceased, that they came back, they wouldn't want to be down there because everybody was making a fool move. What I like to say is that somehow they were both pain bodies looking for the same thing, which was pain. He was looking for pain, and they were looking for pain.
Interesting. Let's talk about let's talk a little bit about Arbery. Let's talk a little bit about Arbery. Arbery, obviously, you know, an all-white jury, mostly white jury in Brunswick, Georgia, found all three of them guilty. In fact, they were found guilty on all charges except the dad and the neighbor were not found guilty on the first two charges, malice murder and one count of felony murder. But everything else they were found guilty of. What do you think about that verdict? I mean, were you surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised. I would have been surprised if they would have found them not guilty with the footage they showed and the evidence that they had. You know, and sometimes the justice system works, but again, it is based upon the jurors and the judge. The two most powerful people when it comes to trial is the jurors and the judge. What do the judge allow or not allowed to be going in front of the jurors? And who are the jurors? How were they selected? So yes, they came back with a good, but I don't understand the other people who were not charged. But however, on that case that was before that jurors, they made the right decision.
Okay, so what do you think about the fact that that particular county, the Brunswick County prosecutor, as well as I think another lawyer or another individual, I'm not sure if he's an attorney, but I know the prosecutor is a female, but they have been indicted.
Correct.
They have been indicted for their initial conduct in the Arbery case. What are your thoughts about that?
The justice system sometimes works, all right? Because in a lot of cases you don't see that, and a whole lot of prosecutors need to be prosecuted for misconduct. Like there's a lot of prosecutors that withhold evidence that will exonerate that defendant, right? But they cover it, and you know of that, right? So
Right.
you've heard of that happening, and you've never seen the prosecutor charged with the crime.
Right. Tell me, comment on this for me, John, in reference to I don't know if you've seen this full video, but this is video that only came out during the trial. This video that we see here. This is video where, well, we've seen that video, but there was video, police body camera video like this right here, them explaining it early on, and all of this was available to that initial prosecutor that refused to act on anything. In fact, she just said that didn't think that there was a crime at all, and which finds it, I find it hard to believe. But comment for me on, I think one of the individuals, Travis McMichael, I think is the son that actually shot Ahmaud Arbery. He actually took the stand, and I don't know, did you get an opportunity to see his testimony at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't get to watch that trial at all.
Well, when you look at these, when you listen to these explanations that we're showing now, do you sense a flavor of white privilege to be so bold to come out and say there is a reason I did this? I mean, considering all of the circumstances, right? This man is just jogging in the neighborhood. Obviously, there was some misunderstanding of who he was and what he was doing. And but did you sense that even the gall to offer an explanation just sounded so much like privilege?
Of course. Yes, that's them saying, "Hey, it's no big deal, man. We do this all the time, right?" So of course, he made it sound like it wasn't nothing to tell, like I have nothing to hide, right? And this is the way they kind of act. We get that sometimes. Like I said, the jurors came back with a right decision with first degree murder.
Right. You know what's really crazy about it, about this whole thing, the Ahmaud Arbery trial. The very crazy thing about it, and it may not be funny to I forget his name, the neighbor, because he's the one that released the video.
Exactly. Yeah.
I bet he's sitting in jail now saying, "I've done a lot of bad things in my life, but this has to be the worst."
But see how naive they are? They do it like they have a right to do it, as
Yeah.
though it can be no, right? Because that's the way they behave and that's the way they were taught. But listen to this though. The problem is that I, I think I think we're missing some of the issues of the reason why someone would be seem like a threat jogging through the park just because of the color of the skin. And I think we're not pointing the blame at media and how we're portrayed. I give you an example. We have these trigger words. Did you know you read something about the young lady that won 3 times, first black woman? These are trigger words. When they use the word black, we can see we black. We can see she's black. Just show us, right? But the point is that these are trigger words to trigger our emotions. So of course, actually, making these statements, it's also going to trigger us. So either way it goes, to me, that's the ball game.
Yeah, and
Whether they would have set him free or whether they would have not, it's just that somehow, why is it that we're viewed at that point to where they can just use trigger words and trigger us,
right.
and they
So
think they can get away with it, right? I mean, think about it. The man just said something and just kind of admitted to it like it was nothing, like it was
right.
no big
So
deal.
let me get back to the pageant. Interesting comment you just made there. You said you don't have to say that Miss USA is black. We can see that, but why would you say that?
Right.
And you call that word a trigger word.
Yes. Yes.
Explain that for me.
Well, why would you call her black? These are trigger words. These are for those who are claiming to be black, so they can trigger. See, this is why you would see a lot of headlines. Uh, Black person killed by officer. Black woman killed by. You will hear the black word because these are words to trigger what black people emotionally. So of course we have the ups and downs emotion. First black person ever achieved as an up emotion. First black person killed or black man killed is a down emotion. So they can trigger it up and down. See, it's not like we're attached to just being human and we can see that. Somehow we're attached because of a program that draws our emotion towards something. This same emotion is what's portrayed on the news and television, which makes them, white people, see us the way they're taught to see us. That makes sense? See,
It
just
does.
as the white man who made the statement like it wasn't nothing, because he see us as threatening, because that's the way television play us, as threatening. Everything you see was somehow some type of threat. So of course they're going to have that mentality, and they're going to justify it. Hey, police can kill us now and just say, what? I feared for my life. But then when someone white, they don't have the same fear. Well, we're not addressing the real issue. Why is it that because of the color of my skin, you have a fear of me? Well, this is the same thing they portraying right now. First black woman, right? Police officer killed another black man, right? Just let us know as a human being, we'll see that they black, but these are trigger words.
Right. And
And
back in the '70s when we
someone's
were
getting paid
young,
off these trigger words, by the way.
you say that again.
And someone's getting paid off these trigger words.
Right, right. You know, back when we were young in the '70s, we could turn on the news, and on the news they would say a black man was arrested today. They were always prefaced. There was always something in front of man. Of course, never for white, but just always for black. But anyway, but the video that's playing now is very interesting. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that might be Arbery, because I remember seeing this video and they said it was the last. But you know what's interesting, when I saw this, and I heard that they said that this was some of the last moments of his life. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting, is that as a former runner, I used to do that. You know, when I ran around the neighborhood, I would go up into houses that were being built just to look at the structure, you know, look at how they're building it. Because, of course, I have a carpentry background. I have a certificate when I was in high school, when they had vocational schools. And so it just amazes me how normal that is, you know, to walk onto property. But let me tell you why I say that, because the video that we're watching is a very, very interesting video because of the way it breaks down. And y'all can see the emblem on there. It's from the New York Times. But I would tell you this, John, one of the things that was interesting to me about the trial was the testimony of one of the females in the neighborhood. It was a white female. And I don't know what her and her husband do all day other than snoop on people and just nosy around everybody. And I don't know, did you get a chance to hear her testimony?
I did not.
She basically, John, kept a log of everything that they determined to be suspicious. Okay? And basically, they had identified every black person that came through that neighborhood. And it had gotten so bad from her testimony, and I think a lot of people missed this in her testimony, but it had gotten so bad that she was basically keeping a running log that every time a black person came through the neighborhood, that they considered it a threat. They had this little group, Facebook, you know, this Facebook group, and they would communicate with each other about the fact that there's a suspicious person snooping around. Now, mind you, that there were a lot of individuals who actually went into that house, mostly white, that never at any time did that alarm any of these people that were in this group. And the McMichaels were a part of this group, and the neighbor was a part of this group. And that's how they knew to go and began chasing Arbery, trapping him in, and different things like that. But I thought, but the reason I bring that up is America is a scary place today when it comes to race. Okay? And I still believe that we don't have a race problem, that we have a cultural understanding problem. But still, America is a crazy place. If you think that while it's okay for African Americans or black people to live in these certain neighborhoods, or neighborhoods that are majority of white residents, but it appears that in a lot of these neighborhoods, they are keeping a very, very close watch on you in that neighborhood. And those that look like you that come outside of the neighborhood. I don't think it's a damn thing wrong with identifying somebody who has no business, who you've never seen in the neighborhood. Okay? What is suspicious to me may not be suspicious to them. And I understand that. And I think that's where we come up with the racial curve. Maybe a discussion for another day. But the young lady's discussion and her testimony was very interesting because she was so relaxed and she felt so comfortable explaining that they were spying on the black people that came in the neighborhood, and she saw nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. It was almost like looking at some of those videos from back in 1955 in the Deep South. It was interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we have to blame it on the media. Where did she get that mentality? Well, we have to address the images that we have, and where did that come from? And look how deep that would run into generations to come.
Right. Well, I'm going to give you an opportunity to make some last thoughts. But I'm just this particular video that we've just put back up. And of course, that's when they're in custody. That's the guy in the middle is the neighbor. This is the neighbor here. Just to think that there's a town in Georgia where you can comfortably say just like you could in 1955 in Mississippi, that I killed a black man and it was okay?
I didn't hear you. We broke up.
Okay, I'm sorry. In other words, I said what is interesting about what I saw in the trial and what I'm seeing in this video is the way they were explaining to the police. I mean, this man's body is still on the ground, and they're explaining to the police, feeling so comfortable that they can do that for no other reason other than, and then it makes me think about the videos that you see in 1955, and they just, I mean, I read a piece here earlier where some white men killed a black man, and they came into trial and said, yeah, I did it, and basically this is why I did it, and they said, it only took them an hour. It only took the jury an hour to acquit the white man for that killing. And one of the jurors said, well, it only took us so long because we were back there drinking pop. So in other words, what I'm saying is that there's just this whole ideal of feeling comfortable. It is scary to know that we still live in an America where people feel comfortable to say that there's a body of a black man laying on the ground, but it's okay. I'm going to explain to you. Look at him. Look at him in this video. I mean, just check him out in this. He's, this is what I did, as if it was okay to even meddle with this guy, to meddle in his business, telling him to stop. Hey, stop. And this bullshit about citizens' arrest. I'll leave that alone. I just found this video to be extreme. This is the body camera. I found this to be very, very interesting. And for no other reason other than the fact that, there's a dead person. A lot of times people will be nervous and say, I've done something. And these, look at him. He's just going right along, just explaining it like, this is like he hit a dog or something. Like this or that. Or I hit a squirrel. Let me explain it to you how this happened. It's a shame. It's actually sad.
Yeah, well, it's the culture.
Would you say it's the culture?
It's the culture. Yes,
look at him. I mean, the man's body is still there, and this guy is just standing there, talking as if, okay, now they're in orange jumpsuits. But anyway, I think it's interesting stuff, man. Very, very interesting stuff. Anyway, Mr. Yah, my time is almost up here. I am going to show, before I let you go, I am going to show one other piece of thing. I think it's so appropriate. I've shown this video many, many times before, but I'm going to ask you to stick around. Let me show this video, and then we're going to end the show when I come back. This is Conscious Fever. I'm Carl Price here on Ice Entertainment. Well, that's what they say. Let me say that again. I'm Carl Price. This is Ice Entertainment Television, and Conscious Fever Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and say goodbye to John Yah. We'll be right back.
Safety, but they're there to contain us, to brutalize us and murder us, because they have their orders to do so. Police in our community.
Power to determine the destiny of our black community. 2, want full employment for
In order for 3, they need to devise some kind of method or strategy to offset some of the events or
they had all their resources and the FBI, the police, and they really meant to send me to the death chamber in order to make a point.
Oh, they know me. We find them in that town. If I'm going to grow in that town, and was I working with some white man? There was really no middle class.
All right, welcome back to Conscious Fever, Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. My, how things change, and wow, how some of those things just simply stay the same.
Exactly.
What do you think, John? Anyway, man, I appreciate you joining me. I am going to, I appreciate you joining us tonight here on Conscious Fever, man. You got to come back more. I know y'all doing some things there on, what do we call that? Don't back up. I brought you forward.
Okay, gotcha.
Anyway, I know you guys are doing things there on the Tipping Point Morning Show. Tell us a little bit about about what to expect this weekend on the Tipping Point Morning Show at WLOU WLOU FM and WLOU Online. What should we expect this weekend on the Tipping Point?
I think we're talking to a sister that owns a business out of Florida. She owns several businesses, actually. I think she's young, very entrepreneur spirit. So the next few shows, we're trying to seek out more entrepreneurs, young startup businesses and people that are, out here doing it, man, and making things happen. And that's what we need to hear more of with all the pandemic and the sadness that's going on. We need to hear something. And that's why I didn't watch the Arbery trial. I'm not into absorbing all that pain, right? So yeah, we tried to we had our last couple of shows was about abuse, sexual trauma. So
Interesting.
we had to kind of now bring it back up to some uplifting, what we can do and what are we doing now. So that's something we're doing in the next two shows.
Yeah, interesting stuff. A couple of comments here before we get out of here. Greg Freeman, I agree 100%. I'm sorry, Brother Freeman, we may have missed that. I'm not sure what you're agreeing with 100%, but I'm sure you will let us know. And then great show as a runner. It was a bit traumatizing, yet eye-opening. Love this content and dialogue. Great show. That's something I always do. I can't do that. But anyway, John, thanks for joining me. It is about my time here. I'm 1 minute out before I got to turn this, tell everybody goodbye with these end credits. Anyway, man, come back and see us here on Conscious Fever. We would love to have you back.
All right, man. Peace. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Have a very, very good night, man. And I'll see you on Saturday morning on the Tipping Point Morning Show.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay. All right, I'm Carl Price. This has been Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television. I'm sorry, right here. On Ice Entertainment Television, on Conscious Fever Radio. Thanks for joining me this week. As always, I hope to be back next week. There's a lot going on here in downtown Louisville, so I may or may not be. But in any case, until then, be safe.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price on 97thebeatfm.com.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes it is. Then I go to my brother, and I say, brother, help me please. But he wind up
I know change